This is County Executive Warren Evans, and this is Inside Wayne County.
Hello and welcome to Inside Wayne County. I'm your host, Lloyd Jackson, and with this show, we want to give you important information and also keep you informed about what's going on inside Wayne County government. Today, my guest is no stranger to the citizens of Wayne County or inside Wayne County. It was just over a year ago when we sat down and spoke about the over 11,000 rape kits that were found in storage collecting dust at police headquarters, and so far 10,000 have been tested. Recently, my guest hosted a 3-day Detroit Sexual Assault Summit at the Detroit Renaissance Center. To talk about that and give us an update on the latest stats for the rape kits is Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy. Madam Prosecutor, it's good to have you back. Thank you for being here. This was a huge undertaking, this summit.
It was.
How did that come together?
Well, as you know, the CEO appropriated $1 million for this project, and we had to do a budget, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The commission, of course, passed it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
And in that budget, we placed some money to be able to host a summit. It started because in Cleveland 2 years ago, they had a summit, and in Memphis last year, they had one. And we have kind of been collaborating, the 3 states and the 3 cities. And so it was. I thought that we could do it. We had the largest one. We had over 300 people from across this country, from cities and states that had untested rape kits. We had nurse practitioners who do the exams. We had prosecutors. We had law enforcement. We had lab personnel. We had advocates. And we had other interested people that came. And so it was very successful and very widely received.
So it was like different breakout sessions during the summit?
We had some plenaries, and then we also had, of course, some breakout sessions also. We had 5 breakout sessions in the afternoon. We tried to have at least 1 breakout session in the afternoon for a certain discipline. And then we had plenaries for the experts we brought in from across the country. So it went very, very well, and we won't be doing it again, maybe in a few years or so.
Okay.
But we're looking for a city to host now. We think we found one.
Well, you know, I know because you've been so prominent with these rape testing kits that a lot of people just feel like this is just something going on in Detroit or in Michigan. This is
no, it's
across the country.
When I first found out about it, I had never heard of the issue, surprisingly enough. And we thought we had 10,000 that had been found in the property room in Detroit Police Department. And so my manager, that actually was the one that spotted them, said, I think we have about 10,000, boss. So I went home and I Googled 10,000 rape kits, and I was shocked that this was an issue all over the country. And we've probably been the most vocal and try to be transparent about our issue here. And we have now been followed by dozens of places now across this country that have the same issue that we have.
So when you talk about all the different states that are part of this, I mean, this is really widespread.
It's very widespread. And even our project has been very widespread. We have identified now over 770 serial rapists. And I remember, I was thinking about this the other day when we thought we had 100.
Okay.
And I thought that was just tragic and crazy. And now we have over 770 suspected serial rapists out of this project. And over 50 of the 770 have 10 to 15 DNA hits apiece.
Wow.
So I call them super serial rapists.
So when you have the serial rapists, you're not just talking about them having victims just here. They may have victims in other jurisdictions.
In other jurisdictions, that's right. Because the testing on our kits that we've done so far, and this is even more astounding, the statistic I just gave you, ours, from one city, from one county, and one state in the United States, our testing results have ties to crime scenes in 39 other states.
Wow.
And that means that there are only 10 states that haven't been impacted by our one finding of rape kits. So that tells you how pervasive the issue is.
What are the active cases going on right now? How many do we have going on?
Well, we have over 1,100 that are ready to be waiting to be investigated. We have about 64 convictions right now, and that just means defendants. Some of those defendants have more than one victim, so we're talking more than 64 victims that have been that have had justice in their cases. But we have 64 defendants that have been convicted, and some of them are serial rapists.
Wow, so a lot more to go. But
a lot more to go, yes.
And I'm sure, Madam Prosecutor, that the public is saying, and the victims are saying, boy, can we get these guys off the street? Can we get them prosecuted, throw them in jail real quick? But it takes time and it takes manpower and money.
How you have to think about that, money for sure. How you have to think about this is it's a cold case. We always hear about cold cases, cold case homicide cases you hear about most. But these are all cold cases. And some of these cases are over 35 years old. So even cases that happen currently, and we have sexual assaults happening currently as well at the same time, but even cases that are happening currently, you still have to investigate and prosecute. And even if you have a CODIS hit, And that doesn't mean the case is over. You still have to find the victim, find the witness, find any other witnesses they may have, if there are any, and you have to find and put the case together the old-fashioned way. So a lot of our investigative work is happening on these cases where we literally have to find all of the pieces and put them together, even with a CODIS hit.
I know the Wayne County Executive is, like you said, has been 100% behind
Yes, he
you.
has. He has.
He was at the summit.
Yes, he was.
And also, I know some room in the Guardian building was.
Yes, well, not only did he provide, he was the impetus of providing the appropriation for the $1 million, and of course, I think the commission also, because they're the ones that voted for having.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
don't want to ever forget them. And,
No.
and actually, many members of the commission, and not just the females, have come to some of our press conferences. They were at the press conference, for example, at the executive's initiative to get the black church involved.
Yes.
And I think 100
Bringing
black
justice.
churches and trying to do that. And so there, I think almost all the commissioners were there. And also, he has provided space for us on the 33rd floor of the Guardian building, and we need to expand now, and so we're talking about we're talking about another floor as well.
Okay.
I hope that's gratis too, if you're listening. Hi, Warren. But we're expanding now since the money's been raised. We started off with 2 investigators. We now have 20.
Wow.
We hope to have. We probably, before this is all over, we probably would need 30 or 35.
Okay.
And then we have, I think, 7 prosecutors. We need 10. And so, of course, we have the support staff. And right now, we're getting ready to, the CEO also approved, and people don't know this, 10 data entry per support personnel, because we have databases from about 8 different databases. So now when the press or someone calls or a commissioner calls, give me your latest, tell me how many defendants have been convicted with previous convictions. We don't have, they're all in separate databases. And so we're hoping to get that into one database. We can press a button and send anybody any information they need, instead of having my Director of Communications, Maria Miller, have to try to coordinate it and take a half a day of her time to try to get that information. So in today's age, once we get that done, because we didn't anticipate that at the beginning of all this, that every police department would have a separate database, that every lab would have a separate database, and they don't merge together. So that's something that we're working on.
I understand also that it's going to be money appropriated in this fiscal year for the
Well, I'm hoping so.
No, I understand
Okay.
it's been done
I'm
for the
hoping
next
so.
2 years,
Okay,
as a
I'm
matter
hoping
of
so.
fact. So we're hoping that gets through as well, because money is still needed. You still need funds, and I know you get grants from the federal government.
We do. We've gotten millions of dollars from the state. We've gotten $1 million from the federal government, and the federal government is still being very supportive. We had champions in Joyful Heart and Mariska Hargitay. We had a champion, even the Vice President Biden himself, and then the President, who made this a important part of the work he's doing. And also Eric Holder, the former Attorney General. This is one of his 4 points that he wanted to tackle when he was there.
Is this something it's going to be every year? Would you like it to be every year, or
What
the summit?
No, we won't be hosting the next summit. I mean, I'm not saying we won't host it again, but it was an incredible amount of work. We'll be happy to do it, but we have another city that's volunteered to take it. And
Because they have the same issues as we do?
Exactly. These are cities that have the same issues. And so we've had good cross the United States communication, and also with the federal government giving the grants, we have also targeted those cities who've gotten the grants. And so they were very heavily in attendance to see what we were doing here. So we spent a lot of time getting to where we are now. And so one of the purposes of the summit, one of the many purposes, is to help cities that just discovered the issue cut through all the stuff that we had to do that they don't need to do. They can find out from our example.
What did you take away from the summit, Madam Prosecutor?
That this is even more pervasive than I thought. Wow. That most people want to do the right thing. And most people, where they find this in their jurisdictions, whether it's police or prosecutors or advocates, want to do the right thing. The key is collaboration. You have to collaborate, not only with your own community, but also across the country and with your state, local, and federal authorities. It's disappointing that some jurisdictions are not doing anything about their backlog or their untested kits. But overwhelmingly across the country, people want to do the right thing, and they want to make sure that justice is brought to the survivors in their jurisdictions, and that's very heartening to see. And they're experts in the field that are helping us all change the way that these cases are investigated and prosecuted. We were updated on the new science, or the newer science, and so that's always something we have to understand. And so it's great.
Do you think that the pressure will be on those other entities that are not really taking this serious with their kits, you think, with all the media attention?
That's out of my wheelhouse and out of my lane, but I hope so. I'm asked this question all the time. I can't imagine a jurisdiction that could turn their back on these citizens, because they are no different than a cold case homicide. If we were talking about cold case homicides, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. But sexual assault has always been the neglected child of violent crime. And so I'm hoping to change that narrative as well. And even more important than that, really, is that these victims were victimized twice. They were victimized when they were sexually assaulted, and they were victimized when their kids sat on the shelf for years. And so we hope to not only restore the confidence in them in the criminal justice system, but any woman, man, or child that is sexually assaulted in the future, or present in the future, will also know that we will take it very, very seriously, and all entities will take it very, very seriously.
You know, in this political season that we're in right now, talk has come up about crude talk versus sexual assault talk. They're two different things.
Well, anyone who wonders about that, the only thing they need to do is Google or find the First Lady's speech from yesterday, who addressed that issue just more perfectly than I ever could. It was one of the top 5 speeches I've ever seen in my life when it comes to the political stage. And she talked about that. Do we really want this, whether you find it to be sexual assault, which it is, from what he was saying, it is sexual assault. And the fact that we are even considering a leader of this great country who brags about sexual assault is beyond me. But this is a nonpartisan issue, but this is a nonpartisan issue. So for me to say that, I'm talking to Democrats, Republicans.
Absolutely.
So it's for me, this is a nonpartisan completely issue. Do we really want our girls, our women and girls, to think that they can be treated that way? Do we really want them talked about that way? Do you want your daughter, your sister, your mother talked about that way? But equal to that, do we want our young men and boys to know that this is okay behavior, this is okay talk? And that's why it's been great, as the First Lady said last night, to see the athletes coming out that spend time in actual locker rooms to say, this is not what we talk about.
Yeah.
We talk about this, not that. And so that's very good to see. So if nothing else, it sparked this conversation, but it's deplorable talk. It's deplorable, and it's sexual assault.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you also about the way we've had these shootings across the country, young black men, unarmed, police. What do you think needs to happen for us to come together, move this forward, and for us to come together?
I can tell you exactly what I think needs to happen. I mean, I've been working with Paul Howard, who's the Fulton County District Attorney in Atlanta, and Seth Williams, who is the Philadelphia District Attorney, and some other African American district attorneys and prosecutors across the country. And this is what we say. I think there should be a federal agency like the NTSB. NTSB is the one that goes out and investigates federal plane crashes. We do not, let me first say, we do not endorse what's happening in New York, the state of New York, where the investigation and prosecution of these cases is taken out of the hands of the local attorney. Because we're the ones that are ultimately responsible for the public safety in our counties. And so we think that if a prosecutor refuses, for whatever reason, to indict or charge officers, and then there may be a good reason, maybe it's not a provable case, but for any reason they refuse, this federal agency then will send someone in, made up hopefully of former federal and state prosecutors, people who know what they're doing, will come in and review the investigation of that local prosecutor. And if they decide that, well, that local prosecutor, we agree with that investigation, then it should not go forward. But if they disagree, then their role would be to try to encourage with whatever evidence they have, and maybe they uncovered some new evidence. Maybe witnesses would talk to them that wouldn't talk to the local prosecutor, encourage them to then prosecute. And if they still refused, then perhaps there would be other ways that there could be a prosecution.
Madam Prosecutor, it's a pleasure to have you back here on Inside Wayne County. You know you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me.
Up next, there's a vote on November 8th concerning regional transit. What is it? How will it affect you? My next guest from the Regional Transit Authority will explain as Inside Wayne County continues.
The first day stepping on the court, I couldn't keep up. That motivated me to step up my game. When I reach a goal, I set a new one the next day. And my next goal is to go to college. Mastering the court takes persistence. So does getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
Welcome back to Inside Wayne County. I'm your host, Lloyd Jackson. On November 8th, residents in Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, and Washtenaw counties will vote on a millage to fund the Regional Transit Authority master plan that would create a seamless, comprehensive transit system that would build on existing services to provide more local and region-wide services. Here to talk about the RTA master plan and give you, the viewers, an overview of the issue is Tiffany Gunter, Deputy CEO and COO of the RTA. Tiffany, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me.
This is very important, and I think the viewers need to have information on this. This is going to be on the ballot, and I believe a lot of them don't really know what RTA is. So let's just jump in with both feet right now. What is RTA?
All right, no wasting time. So
Right.
what is RTA? And this is very important. Education is key to this. What I find we've done over 200 public meetings, is that when you explain the plan to the public, they start to say, okay, that makes sense. So thank you for this opportunity. The RTA was created back in December of 2012 legislatively. And it was created with the purpose of coordinating the existing transit providers, DDOT, SMART, AATA in Ann Arbor, or Washtenaw County, and the People Mover. So we're the umbrella organization that pushes coordination to help to optimize and maximize the services that we have today. The RTA was charged with securing a long-term dedicated funding source that would allow us to tap into about $1 billion in currently unavailable and untapped resources at the federal and state level. And the key to that is, to compete for those funds, you have to show a long-term commitment to operate the transit infrastructure that they help you to build. And so that's what we're here to try to do, is to put together a family of services. Right now, we stop at local bus. In a lot of areas, major metropolitan areas, they have a lot of different types of services that work together in harmony. So the first layer of our plan is absolutely the local bus services that connect up the communities. The next thing about the plan is we're looking at rapid transit options.
Are we talking about the master plan now?
We're talking about, I just jumped right into
Okay,
the master
that's
plan.
okay.
All right, you
That's
said both feet, so
Yes,
I went in.
that's right.
So the I can't help myself, I get excited. But the master plan itself, it really addresses like hundreds of miles of service area for the 4-county region, and that's what the RTA is. It's Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, and Washtenaw counties, all included. So we have contiguous roads, you know, Grand River, Woodward, Michigan Avenue. All these roads don't stop at a defection point or 8 Mile or Telegraph. They continue, and we see a travel pattern in this region where we've got more than about 67% of Detroiters going to work in the suburbs, and 72% of suburbanites either coming into the city or in between counties to go to work. And we need a transportation system that supports those movements.
And so when you were talking about like DDOT and SMART and the Q line will be coming in in springtime, you know, so how does that fit into the master plan? That all fits into this master plan? Everything works together?
Absolutely. They're the umbrella organization. Actually, when we get into the plan a little bit more detail, you'll see that we have incorporated their services into ours to make sure that we're maximizing efficiency and not simply becoming another bus company, but instead making sure that we make sense and that we maximize every dollar. So right now what we have in the region is that we spend about $69 per capita to operate the transit options that are available today. And with that investment, we see that 92% of the jobs in the region are not available by public transit within 1 hour.
Oh, okay, wow.
92%, so that's a lot of folks. So we said, what are the other areas doing that we compete for jobs and talent? And we found that on the low end, looking at, you know, Chicago, Atlanta, Minneapolis, St. Paul, lots of different places. Boston, I think, is one of them as well. We saw that on the low end, they put in about $140 per capita.
Okay.
On the high end, about $471 per capita.
Okay.
We're at $69 per capita.
Okay.
So we said, perhaps.
In the grand scheme of things, when you compare us with the rest of the country and the different transportation systems, we're
We're not putting a lot into the system, and that's why we stopped at local bus service. And so with our program, we're going to be throwing in different layers that create some meaningful connectivity where we have lots of population and employment density. So we're getting people to jobs, we're getting people to educational opportunities, and we're getting them to entertainment. And we're also connecting up the system for our seniors and our people with disabilities as well.
Now, so people who are catching the bus now, who say, okay, well, RTA, but I'm a bus rider, I ride the bus. Is this going to help with more frequency of pickups?
Absolutely. So there's kind of a rule of thumb here. 15 minutes or better is what you see in most systems, and that's where you get to a place where people don't really have to rely on the schedule because they know the vehicles will arrive every 15 minutes.
Right.
In our plan, virtually every route that we're proposing on a high level, from the rapid transit to the cross-county connectors, are arriving 15 minutes or better.
Okay.
So we're increasing service hours by about 500,000 hours in this plan a year, and that's a lot of additional service. So that way you'll have a system that's attractive to people, and not only that, for people that use the system now and for people who don't use the system now, we're tying these routes to park and rides so that people can park their car and go that long haul distance on a transit vehicle to get to work. And that's something that attracts additional users and really starts to get your system moving in a robust kind of fashion.
Especially those, I would think, who are leasing their cars and don't want to put a lot of miles on it. They can park and ride down and don't put all those miles on.
That's right.
The plan also includes the bus rapid transit, the BRT. Talk about that.
Bus rapid transit, we affectionately call it light rail on wheels. When we talk to the public, what they tell us is they like the systems that operate in their own dedicated guideway.
Okay.
They like the fact that they don't have to stop for lights. They only stop at the stations. It speeds it up and makes it more competitive with the automobile. They want it fast. What they also tell us is they like nice stations, well-appointed, well-designed stations that have real-time information, maybe some coffee shop in it or something like that, and ticket vending machines so they don't have to have that fare box interaction when the vehicle shows up, because that slows the vehicle down. And so BRT offers all of these amenities. Also, they like the level boarding. So like on the People Mover where you just walk on to it, you don't have to walk up into the stairs, creates a more universal access. The thing they like the most about it is that it operates at least 20 hours a day, and that it shows up every 10 minutes in the rush hour and every 15 minutes in the non-rush hour. So this is a system that's running all day long, moving masses of people as mass transit should.
When you talk about young people and millennials coming into the city, in which they are in droves, they can't build enough housing for these young people to come in. Some people want some reliable transportation.
There was a Crane's Detroit study that showed that 73% of millennials pick where they want to live before they pick where they want to work. And I would tell you from firsthand experience, I watched my own brother do this. It's weird. He moved to Atlanta without a job, and then he found a job, but he picked where he wanted to live. This live, work, play environment is a real thing. And so to attract millennials or to retain them, this is something that they absolutely demand in the region in which they want to live in.
So now the viewers are looking at me. I can feel them looking at me right now, and they're saying, you know, Lloyd, this is nice and this is good education, but let's get to the nitty gritty. How much is it going to cost, you know, for this to happen?
Great question. So when looking at home values, you'll see on a lot of our literature that this costs the average homeowner in the region, in the 4-county region, about $8 a month. But when I'm in a particular county, I like to break that number down for that county. Average home value right now, I looked at an article, came out in 2016, was $90,000.
Fine, for Wayne County.
For Wayne County, that's assessed value. So your taxable value would be about $45,000. Our ballot proposal is a 1.2 mil property tax mill. You take that for every $1,000 worth of taxable value, you end up with $4.50 a month for the average homeowner in Wayne County for this proposal.
And where does that money go?
That money does come to the RTA to operate the system and to build the capital infrastructure. The plan all told is a $4.7 billion plan over 20 years. And when people hear that, they say that's a big number. So break that down for me, right? Well, that is $3.3 billion of that comes from millage revenues. $1 billion of it comes from federal and state grants that we now have the ability to draw down on that we didn't have before, because we didn't show the commitment to local funding. And the rest of it is based on fair revenue. So we looked at that and broke that apart and said, well, how are you going to spend it? So once you get that breakdown of where it's coming from, we said, all right, our operating costs for 20 years are $3 billion. To build the plan itself, the capital side of it is a $1.3 billion capital program over the first 10 years of the program. The plan is fully built within the first 10 years. Okay. So that $1.3 billion, I want to put that into perspective. When you look at the I-75 reconstruct in Oakland County from 8 Mile to M59,
yes,
17 miles worth of roadway, it's a $1.3 billion project that takes 14 years to build.
That's right. That's right. Wow. So as a taxpayer and as a county, what's my return on my investment? What's the return?
So we have an 85% return on investment rule that was included in our enabling legislation when the RTA was created. It says that 85% of whatever is raised in your member jurisdiction must be returned back to that member jurisdiction in the form of transit capital dollars and or operating dollars.
Say that one more time, because I don't know if people really heard that.
I will say it again. So in the RTA legislation, we have a statutory responsibility to make sure that 85% of what is raised from millage revenue within the county is returned back to that county in the form of transit capital dollars and or operating dollars. And that is a legal requirement. And so the RTA plan, if you look at our website at rtamichigan.org, you can go to the master plan page, and I really encourage people strongly to do this. And click on that page, and the first thing I tell them to look at is the financial analysis technical memorandum.
Okay.
And that memorandum can show you that 85% absolutely millage over millage dollars goes back into the county. When you tie in the federal and state funding that comes in, each county gets 100% back of what it puts in to the RTA.
Now, let's just say that this ballot passes. What's the first thing that happens the next day? What starts happening?
So first thing that starts happening is we start putting in purchases for our new vehicles. It takes about 18 months to procure a new vehicle. The process is a lengthy process. But first things first, we start increasing services wherever we have capacity to do so along the lines that we've already proposed. The airport services come online right away. We have airport services proposed within the first 5 years that all start coming online right away. Our services for seniors and people with disabilities, immediately we start showing the benefits there and providing those linkages where they don't have to transfer at 8 Mile to simply get to a doctor's appointment anymore. We also are looking at a coordinated fare card. We know that we can get to a magnetic stripe card pretty quickly on all the existing systems, but that would only bring us about into the 19th century, so we want to move a little bit further along than that. Right. So we have a provision for an open fare system, and we want to move forward with that as soon as possible so that people can use their smartphones or debit cards, credit cards, whatever fare medium works for them to use the system. All the lines you see on the map from Grand River, Greenfield, and Van Dyke and 8 Mile, 9 Mile, 12, 15 Mile, commuter express lines along Plymouth and Canton, all those routes start coming online and are operational within the first 5 years. The next 5 years of the plan would be building out the rapid transit infrastructure.
Gotcha.
The first line that comes on is Woodward Avenue, and from there it's Gratiot, then Michigan, and the commuter rail line comes on at the same time as Woodward, and that would connect you between Ann Arbor and Detroit.
So the whole plan, how long will that take?
To build the plan?
To build the whole
10 years. 10 years. It's a 20-year ballot initiative because we have to show that local operating commitment for 20 years. But once we build that out, we're fully operational and through 2036.
How can people get more information again? What's that website?
You can go to RTA, that's rtamichigan.org, click on the master plan page, and you can find all of the resources that help to build this plan. We also have a newsletter. It's called Future Transit. They're at public libraries throughout the region. You can send an email to our office at info@rtamichigan.org, and we will send it to you. We have a fold-out map. I can provide you with those materials if you want to put that on your website as well. And call us if you're low tech or no tech. Give the RTA a call. We're a staff of 5, but we function as a staff of 500, and we're very responsive. We want to make sure that people understand it. We're not encouraging people to agree or disagree. We are fully in education mode. We're not trying to encourage people one way or the other. We just want to make sure that they have the facts about the plan before they get to the polls on November 8th.
Tiffany, Gunter, it's a pleasure having you
Thank
here.
you so
Thank you so
much.
much for giving us that wonderful information, very important information
Yes, sir.
on regional transit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My thanks once again to Tiffany Gunter from the RTA and also Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy. Stay tuned for upcoming shows as I take you inside Wayne County departments, programs, and services. It's all with the goal of keeping you up to date with everything going on inside Wayne County. I'm Lloyd Jackson. See you next time.